Sometimes an avoidant pulls away hardest when they feel the most. And if you've been through this, you know how confusing it is, because your heart reads distance as rejection. Your mind reads silence as loss. Your body reads the change in their energy like an alarm, and suddenly you're back in that familiar place, replaying every conversation, scanning every word, wondering which moment made them switch. But here is the truth that most people don't understand. An avoidance distance is not always a sign of emptiness. It can be a sign of impact. It can be the nervous system reacting to closeness like it's danger. Not because you are dangerous, but because closeness feels unfamiliar to them, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. Think about this. Avoidants are not usually terrified when you're half there. They can handle you when you're casual, when you're smiling, when you're light, when you're not asking for much. They can handle you when the connection still feels optional, when they can step in and out without consequence. But when they feel the bond tightening, when they feel you becoming important, when they feel their emotions getting involved, that's when you start seeing the real pattern. They pull away after a deeply intimate moment. They pull away after a weekend that felt close. They pull away after you finally relaxed and trusted them. They pull away after you share something vulnerable. They pull away after they share something vulnerable. And this is the one that shocks most people, because you think, if they opened up, why are they disappearing now? But that opening up made them feel exposed. And exposure is terrifying for someone who has spent their whole life surviving by staying in control. So the first keynote is not just that they pull away, it's why they pull away. Because their attachment is waking up, and their fear is waking up with it. And when those two collide, they don't lean in, they retreat. Not always because they want to lose you, but because they want to quiet the intensity they feel. They want to calm their nervous system. They want to regain control over the part of them that is starting to need someone, because needing someone, for an avoidant, can feel like weakness. It can feel like surrender. It can feel like being trapped. It can feel like depending on someone who might disappoint them, or leave them, or see them too clearly and decide they're not enough. So rather than sitting in that vulnerability, rather than admitting I'm getting attached, they take a step back and call it space. And this is why their pull away often looks strange, because it is not clean. It is not confident. It is not final. It is conflicted. They're distant, but they still watch. They reply late, but they don't disappear completely. They say they need space, but they still hover near your life. They act colder, but they still react to you. They pull away, but they keep a thread. Because part of them is trying to stay connected while the other part of them is trying to stay safe. And if you're someone with a big heart, this is the moment you take it personally. You think, I was too much. I moved too fast. I asked for too much. I scared them. But the real reason is often more painful and more freeing. You mattered enough to trigger them. You mattered enough to activate the place inside them that fears closeness. Now, I need to say this carefully, because this is where people get trapped. A pull-away can be a sign of attachment, but it is not proof of readiness. Attachment is not the same as capacity. Someone can be emotionally attached and still not know how to love you well. Someone can miss you and still keep hurting you. Someone can feel deeply and still stay avoidant, because feelings are easy, but consistency is the work. So what do you do with this truth without losing yourself? You stop chasing the retreat, because chasing is the exact thing that turns their fear into a wall. Chasing tells their nervous system, see, closeness equals pressure, closeness equals demand, closeness equals responsibility for someone else's emotional state. And when they feel that, they run harder. You also stop punishing them, because punishment creates a battle, and avoidants don't do battles, they vanish. Punishment turns your pain into a weapon, and weapons don't create safety, they create more distance. Instead, you choose the strongest thing you can choose, calm. Calm is not weakness. Calm is not acceptance. Calm is you standing in your dignity. Calm is you saying, I can understand your fear without shrinking my needs. Calm is you letting their behavior speak without translating it into excuses that cost you your peace. Because if they are emotionally attached, and their pull away is fear-based, your calm creates a different environment. It tells them closeness with me is not chaos. It tells them, I won't collapse if you need space. It also tells them, I will not be treated like an option you pick up and put down. That balance is rare, and that balance is what reveals the truth. So you give them room, not endless room, but room. You don't write paragraphs. You don't beg for reassurance. You don't chase the thread they left behind. You continue your life. You stay warm in your energy, but you don't hand them full access while they are half present. You let time show you whether their attachment is real enough to become effort. because here is what happens next. If they are attached, they will feel the shift when you stop chasing. They will feel the absence of your emotional labor. They will feel the quiet where your reassurance used to be. And if they have any willingness to grow, they will return differently, not with a casual not with a late night breadcrumb. They will return with responsibility. They will return with clarity. They will return with effort that lasts longer than a moment. And if they don't, if they keep pulling away every time the connection gets real, if they keep creating distance whenever intimacy shows up, then you have your answer. Not about your worth, but about their capacity, because your worth was never the question. The question was always, can they hold what they feel without running from it? So I want you to let this truth land in your chest. If an avoidant pulls away like this, it can mean you touched something real. It can mean you matter. It can mean they are emotionally attached. But your job is not to chase their attachment into becoming love. Your job is to stay steady, to stay grounded, to stay clear, and to let their actions prove whether their feelings have the strength to become consistency, because that is the only kind of attachment that can truly hold you. The way they pull away matters more than the fact they pulled away. And I know that sounds like a small detail, but it's the difference between you wasting months, chasing a story, and you seeing the truth in days. Because when you love someone avoidant, your heart can get hypnotized by the push and pull. You feel the warm moments and you call them proof. You feel the cold moments and you call them fear. And you keep hoping that fear means you're special, that distance means they care, that silence means they're overwhelmed, and sometimes that is true. But sometimes it's not. That's why the how is everything. Because not all pulling away is the same. One kind of pull away is fear-based retreat, the kind that happens when intimacy gets too real. The other kind of pull away is disinterest, avoidance without investment, distance without attachment. And your nervous system will try to convince you both of the first one, because hope is easier than acceptance. Hope keeps the connection alive. Hope keeps you from grieving. Hope keeps you reaching. But truth is kinder than hope when hope is keeping you stuck. So let's talk about the how. When an avoidant is emotionally attached, their pull away tends to be conflicted. It's messy. It has a push-pull flavor to it. They may go quiet, but they don't vanish cleanly. They may create distance, but they leave a thread. They may need space, but they still watch. They might be slower to reply, but they still reply. They might cancel plans, but they still check in later. They might act colder, but they still show signs that you're on their mind. It's like they are trying to regulate intensity, not erase you. And you can feel that difference, because even in the distance there is a kind of tension, a kind of attachment that hasn't been cut. Their energy doesn't feel final, it feels guarded. It feels like they're holding themselves back. It feels like they want you, but they don't want to need you. It feels like they're fighting their own feelings, and that fight shows up as mixed signals. But when someone is not emotionally attached, their pull away feels clean. It feels like the lights went out. There's no thread, no tension, no push-pull. It's not I need space, it's I don't want to be here. It's not I'm overwhelmed, it's I'm uninterested. It's not confused, it's indifferent. And this is where people get hurt the most, because they keep interpreting indifference like it's fear, and they keep chasing it like fear can be soothed. Fear can be soothed, indifference can't. And the tragedy is, if you treat indifference like fear, you will exhaust yourself. You will over-explain. You will over-give. You will try to become smaller, easier, less needy, hoping they'll come back. But they won't come back in the way you want, because they were never actually stepping toward you in the first place. So the how becomes your compass. And I want you to hear this emotionally, because your heart deserves clarity. If they pull away right after closeness, right after intimacy, right after a meaningful moment, that often points to fear, because closeness triggered their nervous system. If they pull away when you ask for clarity, when you ask for consistency, when you ask for basic relationship behavior, that can also point to fear, because accountability is confronting. If they pull away but keep circling back, keep hovering, keep leaving breadcrumbs, that often points to attachment mixed with avoidance. But if they pull away and replace you with silence, if they pull away and there's no concern, no curiosity, no attempt to repair, no return, no warmth, then you have to consider the possibility that it isn't avoidance, it's absence. It's not fear, it's lack of investment. And here is where it gets hard, because you don't want to believe that. You want to believe it's fear, because fear means there's something to work with. Fear means you mattered. Fear means the connection was real. And yes, sometimes it is fear, but even when it is fear, you still need to pay attention to capacity. because fear-based retreat can still hurt you if it keeps repeating. A person can be attached and still be unsafe for your heart. So what do you do with the how? Without losing yourself, you stop asking the wrong question. The wrong question is, do they have feelings? The wrong question is, are they attached? The right question is, what do they do with their feelings? How do they behave when intimacy appears? How do they handle discomfort? How do they repair after distance? How do they communicate when they're overwhelmed? Because the how reveals whether you're dealing with someone who is scared but willing, or someone who is unavailable and comfortable staying that way. So watch for repair. That is one of the clearest signs. An avoidant who is emotionally attached may pull away, but they eventually come back to repair, even if it's awkward, even if it's slow, even if they don't have perfect words. They try. They reach. They re-engage. They don't just pretend nothing happened. They make some kind of effort to reconnect. They show some awareness that distance affects you, but someone who is not invested will not repair. They will return only when they want something. They will pop in casually and act like your feelings are an inconvenience. They will avoid accountability and keep the connection on their terms. They will keep you in limbo because limbo benefits them. And here is the emotional truth. Your heart cannot live in limbo. Your heart needs steadiness. Your nervous system needs consistency. Your love needs a home, not a revolving door. So you become brave enough to respond to the how with your own how. You don't chase. You don't collapse. You don't punish. You stay calm and you stay clear. You let their pull away be information. You let their behavior show you where you stand. You keep your standards. You keep your life moving. You don't reward distance with more access than it deserves. Because if it's fear-based retreat, your calm can create safety without sacrificing your dignity. You give space without begging. You stay warm without overgiving. You invite connection without chasing it. And then you watch what happens. Do they return with effort? Do they return with presence? Do they return with consistency? And if it's disinterest, your calm will still save you. Because you won't waste your life trying to pull love out of someone who isn't offering it. You won't turn your self-respect into a negotiation. You won't keep paying for a relationship that only exists when you overfunction. So remember this, the way they pull away is the truth. The how is the message. And when you learn to read it, you stop romanticizing distance. You stop excusing indifference. You stop calling breadcrumbs commitment. You stop chasing mixed signals like they're a love story. You start choosing peace. You start choosing clarity. You start choosing yourself. And that is the moment you stop being confused by the retreat, because you finally understand what it is, and you finally decide what you will and will not accept. Emotional attachment doesn't always look like pursuit. It can look like resistance. And if you've ever been close to an avoidant, you've felt that strange contradiction. You've felt their warmth and then their withdrawal. You've felt their softness and then their silence. You've felt the moment they almost stepped in and then the sudden step back. And it messes with you because you've been taught that if someone cares, they move toward you. They claim you, they show up, they make it obvious. But with an avoidant, what's obvious is often the fear, not the feeling. So here is the third keynote. They resist what they secretly want because it scares them. And I want you to hear that in a way that gives you clarity, not fantasy. Because resistance is not romance. Resistance is not proof of destiny. Resistance is simply what happens when desire meets fear, inside a person who has not learned how to hold vulnerability. Avoidants are often people who learned early that needing someone was risky. That wanting closeness could lead to disappointment. That expressing feelings could lead to shame, or rejection, or emotional chaos. So they built a survival skill, control. Control of their emotions, control of the distance, control of how much they reveal, control of how much they need. And then they meet you, and you don't just entertain them, you touch something deeper. You make them feel seen. You make them feel safe. You make them feel that quiet kind of intimacy that they secretly crave. And the moment they feel it, the moment their heart starts leaning in, their nervous system panics. Because to them, leaning in feels like losing control. It feels like being exposed. It feels like being dependent. It feels like stepping into a place where they could be hurt. So instead of saying, I'm getting attached, they do something that looks like the opposite. They resist. They act distant. They become busy. They reply slower. They pull away after closeness. They go quiet after a meaningful moment. They create space after intimacy, because space helps them feel powerful again. And this is why their attachment can look like resistance, because they are not resisting you. They are resisting the part of themselves that wants you. They are resisting their own vulnerability. They are resisting the truth that you matter. Now, this is where your heart gets trapped, because you feel the connection, you feel the depth. You feel the moments where they almost let you in, and you start thinking, if I can just be patient enough, if I can just be loving enough, if I can just be safe enough, they'll stop resisting and finally choose me. And sometimes, yes, a person can soften with time. But you cannot build your life on someone's potential while they keep giving you resistance as the relationship. So you need to understand the difference between resistance that is a temporary fear and resistance that is a permanent pattern. Temporary fear still returns to connection. It still repairs. It still makes effort. It may pull away, but it comes back with some responsibility. It says, I'm overwhelmed, but I don't want to lose you. It says, I need a moment, but I'm here. It says, I'm learning, and I'm trying. It doesn't leave you drowning in silence. It doesn't keep you in confusion for weeks. It doesn't use distance as a lifestyle. Permanent pattern uses resistance as control. It uses resistance to keep you chasing. It uses resistance to keep you proving. It uses resistance to avoid accountability. And the way you can tell is in what happens when you stop chasing. If you stop chasing and they step up, it may have been fear. If you stop chasing and they disappear, it was never a relationship, it was a cycle. And here is where it becomes emotional, because resistance feels like a challenge, and the human heart loves a challenge when it believes love is earned. If you grew up feeling like you had to be good, had to be perfect, had to be patient, had to be understanding to be loved, then an avoidant will trigger that old wound. Their resistance will make you work harder, not because you're foolish, but because your nervous system is trying to win the love it didn't receive consistently before. So you start reading their resistance like a puzzle. You start believing the prize is closeness, and you forget that in healthy love, closeness is not a prize, it is a baseline. The woman who changes this dynamic is the woman who can see resistance for what it is, fear in motion. She doesn't demonize it, she doesn't shame it, she doesn't try to punish it, but she refuses to build a home inside someone's fear. She refuses to make her heart a training ground for someone who keeps running every time it gets real. So when they resist, she doesn't chase. She doesn't flood them with reassurance. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't beg for clarity. She becomes steady. Because steadiness is the thing an avoidant doesn't know how to manipulate. Steadiness removes the drama. Steadiness removes the chase. Steadiness creates a quiet mirror that says, I'm here, but I'm not available for confusion. And do you know what resistance often means when an avoidant is attached? It means they are thinking about you more than they admit. It means they are replaying conversations. It means they are trying to calm the part of them that wants to reach out. It means they are fighting the urge to need you. It means you are becoming important, and importance scares them. But again, importance is not enough. Your heart cannot survive on being important. Your heart needs to be chosen. Your heart needs effort. Your heart needs consistency. So your power is not in interpreting every resistance as love. Your power is in holding a standard that love cannot be only a feeling, it must be a behavior. You can say, without cruelty, I understand you get overwhelmed, and I also need consistency. I can respect your pace, and I won't accept disappearing. I can be patient, and I won't be kept in limbo. That is not you being demanding. That is you being emotionally safe for yourself. Because the most heartbreaking thing is when you confuse their resistance with romance, and you start sacrificing your peace to prove you can handle their fear. You start accepting less to show you're easy. You start abandoning your needs to keep them comfortable. You start calling your hunger patience, and slowly you become the person who is always waiting, always hoping, always forgiving, always chasing. But the woman who is truly magnetic to an avoidant is the woman who doesn't reward resistance with more access. She doesn't punish either. She simply stays grounded. She stays warm, but she pulls her energy back when the pattern shows up. She matches reality. She lets their resistance reveal their capacity, and she gives them a chance to rise, but she does not beg them to. And if they are attached and capable, that is when they start stepping toward her, because they realize they can't keep her with avoidance. They can't keep her with distance. They can't keep her with half effort. They feel the risk of losing her, and that risk pushes them to face themselves. Not always perfectly, not always immediately, but in a way that becomes visible. And if they are attached but not capable, her steadiness still saves her, because she stops building her life around someone's resistance. She stops turning fear into a love story. She stops mistaking the chase for chemistry. She chooses peace, she chooses clarity, she chooses herself, and in that choice, she becomes the one person who no longer abandons her. And that is where real love begins. They don't fear you. They fear what you represent: closeness, accountability, and being seen. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, you know how unfair it can feel, because you weren't trying to trap them. You weren't trying to control them. You weren't trying to demand a perfect performance. You were simply being real. You were being present. You were letting your heart show, and for most healthy people, that creates connection. But for an avoidant, that same closeness can feel like a spotlight, and a spotlight is terrifying when you've spent your whole life surviving by staying half hidden, because what you represent is not just romance. You represent responsibility. You represent the end of their emotional hiding place. You represent the kind of love that asks, not with words but with reality, are you going to show up? Are you going to communicate? Are you going to be consistent? Are you going to be accountable for what you start? And if they are used to living in a world where they can disappear when things feel intense, where they can withdraw without consequence, where they can stay vague and call it space, then meeting someone who actually wants something real will activate their deepest fear, that they will be required to be fully known. And being fully known is not romantic to someone who associates vulnerability with danger. Being seen means you can be evaluated. Being seen means you can be rejected. Being seen means someone might notice your inconsistencies, your flaws, your fears, your emotional limits. Being seen means you can't hide behind charm, or jokes, or independence, or I'm just busy. Being seen means you can't keep the relationship floating in a grey area where nothing is demanded and nothing is promised. When you come into their life with real warmth and real clarity, you bring the relationship out of the shadows, and that is the moment they start to panic. So they pull away, not always because they don't care, but because caring creates pressure inside them. Pressure to maintain closeness, pressure to respond, pressure to be reliable, pressure to be a partner instead of a visitor. And the reason they feel that pressure so intensely is because their identity is often built on self-sufficiency. They've trained themselves to believe, I don't need anyone, because needing someone once felt unsafe. So when they start to need you, even a little, their nervous system treats that need like a threat. It's not that you are doing something wrong. It's that your presence is touching the exact place they've been guarding their whole life. And this is why the pulling away often happens after the most beautiful moments. After the deep conversation where you felt them soften. After the night where their eyes looked different, like they were finally letting you in. After the weekend where it felt like a real relationship for the first time. After the vulnerability, after the laughter, after the closeness. Because closeness is the thing they crave, but it is also the thing that demands they become someone they haven't practiced being. Closeness demands accountability, and accountability is terrifying when you're used to escape. Accountability means your words matter. It means your actions have weight. It means you can't say, I miss you, and then vanish for 3 days like it meant nothing. It means you can't act like a partner when it feels good, and then act like a stranger when it feels inconvenient. Accountability means if you start something, you don't get to pretend it didn't happen when it gets real. And the avoidant who hasn't done the inner work will try to avoid accountability the same way they avoid vulnerability, with distance. So you'll notice it in the way they change when you ask for clarity. Not because clarity is unreasonable, but because clarity removes their hiding place. You'll notice it in the way they get vague when you bring up consistency. You'll notice it in the way they call you intense when you're simply being honest. You'll notice it in the way they frame your needs as pressure, because pressure is what they feel when reality asks them to grow. And if you're not careful, you will start believing their story. You will start thinking, maybe I am too much, maybe I should ask for less, maybe I should be quieter, maybe I should be more chill, and slowly, you will begin shrinking your needs into a whisper just to keep someone close. But I need you to hear this clearly. A healthy person does not feel threatened by your emotional presence. A healthy person does not label basic communication as pressure. A healthy person does not treat your standards like a burden. The right person feels challenged to rise, not threatened to run. An avoidant runs because you represent the end of their control, because control is how they stay safe. Control is their way of regulating fear. They control the distance. They control the pace. They control how much they reveal. They control when they show up and when they disappear. And when you come into their life and your love has structure, your love has standards, your love has a quiet expectation of mutual effort, they start feeling like they're losing the one tool they've always used to protect themselves. So they create space to regain control of their emotions. They tell themselves they need to think. They tell themselves they're overwhelmed. They tell themselves they're not ready. Sometimes they even tell themselves you're the problem, because it's easier to blame you than to face their own fear. And you're sitting there with your heart in your hands, thinking, how did we go from closeness to this? How did we go from warmth to withdrawal? How did I become something they run from? But you are not what they run from. They run from what you awaken. You awaken the part of them that wants intimacy, and that part terrifies them because intimacy means being known. It means being seen. It means being accountable to someone's feelings, someone's time, someone's expectations. And if they have never learned how to hold that responsibility with steadiness, they will treat it like a threat to their freedom. And the most heartbreaking part is that they will often keep you close enough to soothe themselves, but not close enough to be responsible. They will hover. They will check in. They will leave breadcrumbs. They will come near when they feel lonely. And then the moment you respond with warmth, the moment the connection starts to feel real again, they pull back to regain control. Not because you did anything wrong, but because reality makes them feel exposed. So what do you do with this truth? You stop chasing their retreat as if it is your job to prove you are safe. You stop trying to make yourself smaller so they can stay comfortable. You stop interpreting their fear as a sign that you should lower your standards. Because if you keep shrinking, you will keep feeding the dynamic where they stay half present and you stay half alive. Your power is in holding steady, warm but steady, kind but clear, open but not available for confusion. You allow space without begging to fill it. You don't punish them, but you don't rescue them from the consequence of their distance. You keep your life moving. You protect your peace. You remind yourself that love is not supposed to feel like you're auditioning for basic effort. And here is the quiet truth that will set you free. If they are emotionally attached, your steadiness will either help them rise, or it will reveal that they cannot. Because someone who is attached but capable will eventually come back with more honesty, more effort, more responsibility. Not perfect, not dramatic, but real. They will face the discomfort of being seen, because losing you feels more painful than being vulnerable. And someone who is attached but not capable will keep running the same pattern. Closeness, retreat, and your heart will keep getting stretched until it breaks. So you choose yourself before it breaks. You stay loving, but you stay loyal to your standards. You hold the truth that your needs are not the enemy. Your clarity is not too much. Your desire for consistency is not pressure. It is the minimum requirement for a love that doesn't cost you your dignity. Your power is not in chasing their retreat. It's in holding your standards while staying calm. And I need you to feel how different that is from what your nervous system wants to do. Because when an avoidant pulls away, your instinct is to close the gap, to fix the silence, to prove you're safe, to explain your intentions, to reach for the connection like it's slipping through your fingers. And I understand it, because distance feels like danger when you care. But chasing does not create closeness with an avoidant. Chasing creates pressure, and pressure creates more retreat. So the fifth keynote is the move that changes everything. You stay calm, and you keep your standards. Calm without standards becomes self-abandonment. Standards without calm becomes a war. But calm with standards becomes a mirror. It reveals the truth. It shows whether they are emotionally attached and willing to grow, or emotionally attached and committed to the same pattern. Because the real test is not whether they pull away. The test is what happens when you don't chase. If you chase, you never see their true capacity, because your chasing keeps the cycle alive. Your chasing becomes the bridge. Your chasing becomes the reason they can disappear and return without accountability. Your chasing teaches them that distance will always be softened by your effort. And then you blame yourself. You think, maybe I'm not lovable enough. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I'm too intense. But the truth is, the dynamic never had to evolve, because you were doing all the adapting. So calm means you stop being the bridge. Calm means you stop being the translator of their silence. Calm means you stop being the one who keeps the thread alive when they drop it. Calm means you let their behavior speak, and you respond to reality, not to hope. And standards mean you do not pretend their retreat is normal. You do not reward inconsistency with full access. You do not continue investing like you're in a committed relationship when they are acting optional. You do not keep giving your softness to someone who keeps giving you uncertainty. You keep your heart open, but you keep your boundaries close to disrespect. This is what it looks like in your body. You feel the anxiety, but you don't obey it. You feel the urge to text again, but you don't. You feel the urge to explain, but you don't. You feel the urge to ask, "Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Do you still care?" And you pause, and you breathe, and you remind yourself, my worth is not up for negotiation. My peace is not something I sacrifice to keep a connection alive. If someone wants closeness, they can participate. And the reason this is so powerful is because it creates clean space, and clean space forces truth. In clean space, an avoidant cannot hide behind the chaos of your reaction. They cannot say, "You're too emotional," because you're calm. They cannot say, "You're pressuring me," because you're not chasing. They cannot say, "I needed space from your intensity," because you're steady. The only thing left is them, their choices, their effort, their willingness to show up. And this is where you learn the difference between an avoidant, who is attached but scared, and an avoidant who is attached but unwilling. The one who is attached but scared will feel your calm like safety. They will realize closeness with you doesn't require drama. They will notice that you are not trying to trap them. You are simply holding a standard. They may still take space, but they will come back with some responsibility. They will repair. They will try to communicate. They will show in small ways that they don't want to lose you. But the one who is attached and unwilling will feel your standards like a threat, because your standards remove their comfort. They will try to test you with distance. They will try to see if you fold. They will return with breadcrumbs, with a casual message, with a half apology, hoping you'll rush back into the old role. And this is where calm becomes your superpower, because calm doesn't react to breadcrumbs like they're a feast. Calm doesn't panic at silence. Calm doesn't chase a half return. Calm stays steady and asks for reality. And I know this is where your heart breaks open, because you want to believe the breadcrumbs mean something. You want to believe the late night message means they miss you. You want to believe the "Hey stranger" is proof they care. And maybe they do care, but caring is not the standard. Effort is. Consistency is. Responsibility is. Your nervous system cannot build a home inside someone's occasional affection. So you hold the line, not with cruelty, not with a lecture, with calm, with a simple response, and then you watch. Do they show up again? Do they make plans and follow through? Do they communicate when they're overwhelmed? Do they take accountability for the pattern? Do they move toward you with steady effort, not just emotional impulse? Because calm standards are not about controlling them, they are about protecting you. They are about saying, "I will not chase you into choosing me. I will not explain my worth to you. I will not beg for consistency. I will not keep investing in uncertainty. I will not turn my love into labor." And when you live like that, something deep shifts even inside you. You stop being addicted to relief. You stop being controlled by their mood. You stop checking your phone like your peace is on the other side of a screen. You start coming home to yourself. You start rebuilding the part of you that got lost in the waiting. And this is why it becomes emotional, because the real victory is not that they come back. The real victory is that you stop abandoning yourself. You stop giving people access to your heart when they refuse to handle it with care. You stop confusing attachment with ability. You stop calling potential a relationship. Now, if they are emotionally attached, your calm standards will make them face a decision. They can keep running and lose you, or they can step up and grow. And if they choose to grow, it won't be because you chase them into it. It will be because your steadiness showed them what healthy love looks like, and your boundaries showed them that they cannot keep you without effort. And if they choose to run, then your calm standards still save you, because you will not spend another season of your life begging for someone to be present. You will not keep twisting yourself into someone easier to love. You will not keep shrinking your needs into silence. So stay calm and keep your standards. Let their retreat be information, not an emergency. Let the behavior reveal their capacity, not your worth. And let your love be something you give to someone who can hold it, not someone who keeps dropping it. Because you were never meant to chase love. You were meant to be met there.